Our planet's current appearance is something we're all familiar with. When we look at a traditional two-dimensional world map, our brains instantly recognize the shapes and patterns, unless you're in North Korea, where they apparently place their country directly in the center of the world. Remove just one or two countries from the map, and suddenly everything feels wrong. Our brains crave familiarity and pattern recognition. But here's something even stranger. Imagine what our world map would look like if sea levels plummeted by 1,000 meters. Such a dramatic drop would expose countless underwater geological formations and structures, completely transforming the world map as we know it. Earth would reclaim millions, possibly tens of millions, of square kilometers of new land. Island nations would merge with continents, and many countries would see their territories expand dramatically. Let's explore the most significant changes that would occur. Australia and New Zealand. Starting with the countries down under, Australia would transform into a massive landmass. More importantly, its northern regions would expand across the Timor Sea and merge with Indonesia, creating an entirely new continental formation. Tasmania would also connect to mainland Australia. By conservative estimates, Australia would gain between 10% and 20% additional territory. Across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand would become virtually unrecognizable. Not only would its North and South Islands merge into one, but the country's shape would transform entirely. Parts of the landmass would extend significantly eastward, making the nation almost impossible to identify compared to its current form. While Australia would remain somewhat recognizable despite its changes, New Zealand would be completely transformed. Southeast Asia. The islands of Southeast Asia would essentially become one connected landmass. Sumatra, Java, Borneo, and the Philippines would all fuse together and attach to mainland Southeast Asia. Countries like Vietnam and Thailand would see their coastlines expand significantly. East Asia. While mainland China wouldn't change dramatically, East Asia as a region would be transformed. Japan's islands would link together, creating a land bridge connecting Russia in the north to China in the south. This would turn South Korea into a landlocked country, sandwiched between China, North Korea, and Japan. The Sea of Japan would become a saltwater lake. China would welcome one aspect of this scenario. Taiwan would be physically connected to the mainland. Whether Taiwan continued operating as a republic or not, any potential invasion by China would become significantly easier by land. Bangladesh and the Maldives, two of the world's lowest-lying countries, currently threatened by rising sea levels, would suddenly find their territories expanded. Northeast of the Maldives, Sri Lanka would connect physically to India, enabling road traffic between the two nations and likely boosting Sri Lanka's economy. Landlocked countries further inland, such as Bhutan, Nepal, and the Central Asian nations, would remain unchanged. Russia, the world's largest country, would gain even more territory, potentially millions of square kilometers. Russian land would extend further toward the Arctic, likely providing additional opportunities for oil and gas extraction and significantly boosting the nation's economy. Africa and the Middle East. Continental Africa would remain largely the same, appearing only slightly more substantial to the naked eye. However, Africa's island nations would change dramatically. Mauritius and Seychelles would grow significantly and become easily visible on world maps. Mauritius, currently around 2,000 square kilometers, would expand to 20 or even 30 times its present size. A significant geopolitical change would occur as Yemen, and by extension, the Middle East and Asia, would physically connect to Africa through Eritrea and Djibouti. This land connection would close off the Red Sea from the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea, technically converting it into a lake. Saudi Arabia would absorb the area where the Persian Gulf currently exists, turning Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar into landlocked nations. An unexpected change would occur in the remote southern regions. The French Southern Territories and the Heard and McDonald Islands, currently tiny remote islands separated by 500 kilometers, would expand and merge into one large landmass. Europe would undergo perhaps the most dramatic transformation. The continent would become almost entirely connected. The North Sea, English Channel, Baltic Sea, and other bodies of water would disappear, replaced by European landmass. The continent would essentially become one giant connected territory. The United Kingdom would be completely unrecognizable, merging with both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, a union that would certainly provoke strong reactions. This region would restore Doggerland, a landmass that connected Great Britain to mainland Europe during the last ice age, approximately 18,000 years ago. After the Ice Age, melting ice raised sea levels and submerged Doggerland. A 1,000-meter drop would expose it once again, reconnecting Western and Northern Europe. Scotland would connect to the Faroe Islands, which would connect to Iceland, which would link to Greenland, which would join with Canada, creating a land bridge between North America and Europe. Since Alaska would also connect to Russia, it would become theoretically possible to drive or walk across the entire planet. Italy and Malta would merge and connect physically to mainland Africa, creating a new land bridge between the continents. Norway would become completely unrecognizable, growing significantly due to the sea level drop. North America. The United States would largely retain its overall shape, though its eastern and southeastern coasts would become bulkier. Florida would physically connect to the Bahamas, which would link to Cuba, a land connection the Cuban government might not welcome, given that it would make a U.S. land invasion possible. Mexico would maintain its general shape, but with a noticeably chunkier eastern coastline. Canada would grow drastically. Currently around 10 million square kilometers, Canada could potentially double in size with a 1,000-meter sea level drop. Hudson Bay would vanish, and as mentioned, the country would link to Greenland. South America. South America wouldn't change dramatically, with one major exception. Argentina would grow significantly. The Falkland Islands would also expand considerably and merge with Argentina. Conclusion. That's what our world would look like if sea levels dropped by 1,000 meters. Which country do you think would change the most? New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom would all become completely unrecognizable. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching.